Are there things we don't know that maybe we will never know? And that's the enigma of Antarctica. It is truly one of the most curious, inhospitable, and unworldly-like places in the world. It also turns out to be the best place to look for rocks from outer space. Our only current and continuous source of macroscopic extraterrestrial materials. Almost all the meteorites found come from Antarctica, and this is the concentration of sites where they find them. They treat these as specimens, so they're wearing gloves, they put them in airtight bags, and they send them off to the Houston Space Center. In a meteorite NASA retrieved from the La Paz ice field in Antarctica, researchers have uncovered a grain of stardust that formed before even our sun had come into existence. What's more, the grain material sheds insight into how solar systems like ours are formed. The investigators from the Antarctic Search for Meteorites program note that meteorites are rare scientific specimens, and outside of Antarctica, only a few are recovered each year. Well, here's the most famous one of all. Do you guys remember when a meteorite was found with life from Mars a few decades ago? That was like the big deal, this soft disclosure. They're giving us little tidbits. Oh, we're finding life from Mars. Well, this is it. This is the ALH 84001 meteorite. And some NASA researchers have suggested that the Martian sample may have traces within it of ancient biological activity on Mars. There are over 150 subglacial lakes which have been discovered in Antarctica, and many connect with under ice rivers. So these subglacial lakes sit at the base of large ice sheets, forming the lakes in bedrock, indentures, and connected to other lakes by under ice rivers. So it is absolutely true that there are rivers and lakes that interconnect. These subglacial lakes were only discovered in the 1960s, so this is a very recent phenomenon. And here you go. This is a map of what these subglacial lakes and connecting rivers look like. So there very much is an interconnection of rivers. And remember, water seeks its own level, so if it's melting from a volcano in the middle of the continent, it's going to have a river, it's going to have an outlet, because the warm water will melt its way through one way or another. And here you can see where Lake Vostok is. This is really fascinating. This is in the top 10 largest lakes of the world, completely under the ice. It's 50 kilometers wide and extends more than 240 kilometers way deep under the ice. So they were able to drill down there, coring through the ice 2.2 miles. They just did that in 2012. It wasn't until 2016 that they actually got a lake sample, and what they found was remarkable. They've already detected bacteria that has never been seen before, and the suspicion is it may be bacteria that lives on a kind of fish that lives in Lake Vostok that's totally undiscovered. So there could be life forms down here that live under the ice right now in total darkness. But you can imagine what it would be like in the summer, just this blue hue of light percolating down through the ice. And one of the most amazing things is this hole in the ice, this massive South Pole hole. This is Brian S.'s handwriting and his description of what happened. They were coming from McMurdo to South Pole. They had to go to the Davis station. They were ordered to fly all the way around it because there is a no-fly zone. I absolutely confirmed that there is a no-fly zone, the one side of the South Pole there. So what Brian S. says, it's a massive hole. And Admiral Byrd, very respected in the Navy, led Operation Highjump, which I'll tell you about in a minute. He said that he flew over the South Pole, saw this hole. It is so massive. He took his plane into it, enough room to fly around inside and back out. That's how big it is. And as you can see, if these are real images, it's something to behold. Here is New Schwabenland. This is an actual map of the mountains, and many of these mountains Mulig, Hoffmann, Seeberg, all have German names. These are the Schumacher ponds. They're multicolored, much like Yellowstone has all those colored bacteria. The Schumacher ponds are the same way. And they're warm water ponds. And the pilot Schumacher himself did some experiments with water, found that the water was much warmer at the bottom of the lake, and these lakes never freeze. This area also has, like the dry valleys, an area where no ice accumulates. They call these spots oases. And I was reading this book by Henry Stevens called Dark Star about Antarctica, and he said there were reports of German soldiers even growing their own crops in the summer. This is the presumed location of Base 211, the New Berlin base, which Admiral Dölens said in 1943 that we have created an impregnable fortress for our Führer. Over 100 U-boats in the Wolf convoy, the Führer's convoy, the largest U-boats, which may have shepherded out all of the craft that was being worked on in Germany at the Skoda Works, which is now Czech Republic. The Allies and the Russians, they didn't find any of the craft. Could be that they went right here to those mountains, this protected area. This is where Operation Highjump was coming. In the winter, our winter, their summer, 1946, 1947, for a 6-month expedition led by our Admiral Byrd that was repelled after 2 months. And Admiral Byrd, he may have been a little more outspoken than he should have been, because when he was coming back through Chile, he spoke to a reporter and he said that we may be confronting an enemy that can fly pole to pole at incredible speeds. Well, I scratch my head because I still don't think we have technology today that can fly pole to pole at incredible speeds. So what he may have encountered, and after the Soviet Union broke up, an incredible amount of research came into the field. If you showed up in Moscow with a suitcase of $100 bills, you could buy autopsy videos of aliens, you could buy videos of crashed discs, and now a lot of these are online, you can go see them, and a lot of information that the Russians knew about this New Berlin base came out. And there's a really great documentary, you have to read the subtitles, but they said that some of the information that came out was that Operation Highjump was confronted with craft that came out of the water that could not be shot down and that had some kind of laser that sliced one of our destroyers called the USS Murdoch in half, just as a show of force. They did not take out any other ship, just this one, just to say, this is what's going to happen if you try to nuke us. And that was their biggest fear. And that may have been what Operation Argus was all about. And the flyover of Washington, D.C., the famous crafts, most researchers would agree that those were craft that came out of Antarctica. Those were human-made, backwards engineered craft, and I get into this in my future esoteric book, which I have out at my table, including maps of Antarctica. And this was the expedition, New Schwabenland, and this specially designed badge or emblem of the Deutsche Antarctic Expedition 3839, the swastika and oak leaves clearly reveal Thule society paternity. So there was an occult reason for the Nazis to go down there in the late 1930s, plus to provide this impregnable fortress for our Führer. Okay, first of all, this is the Belgrano 2 base. This is where that marine biologist said that some of his Antarctica compatriots had seen a sighting, and that's very close to the New Schwabenland area. But these are the German bases, West Germany. They never left, people. They never left. You'll see on my map from Nat Geo, which is pre-Cold War, that says New Schwabenland, the German bases are on there. They never left. This one is very interesting. Conan. This is a seasonal base. And what I'm going to show you now is what I found when I plugged in the GPS coordinates for this strange thing. In 2013, if you go on the Wayback Machine on Google Earth, you'll see this thing. What the heck is that? Something under the ice, an airstrip, what looks like snowmobile tracks, some trails, maybe even some people walking around it. And now this is what you'll find today. This is a blow up of this thing. So if there is a craft under the ice, the coordinates are exactly where the German Conan base is. That's pretty interesting. So if there is anything under the ice, this is where it is. And any of you good students want to write down the GPS coordinates, you get an extra credit. And also, all around Antarctica, as I was looking for disks under the ice, you can find them. You can find some of these strange anomalies that look very much like some kind of disk. Because the polar plateau and much of the continent remain unexplored, Google Earth has been invaluable in looking deep into the fabric of Antarctica to spot these anomalies, including what could be dish-shaped craft. And now you have what could be pyramids. And I've located 3 areas of pyramids. I started talking to an expedition group. They have an office in Punta Arenas, Chile, which I set up an appointment after Antarctica and had a meeting there. And I started to talk to one of the logistic coordinators. And he actually says he recognizes this one. They fly over this all the time. And this is Mount Epperle. He says it's called a Nunatak, which is just an attractive mountain that sticks out from the ice. And I said, well, have you climbed it? Have anybody gone down there? Well, no, we just fly by it, and we just think it's cool to look at. Well, how do you know that maybe it's not created? Well, he didn't have an answer to that. So, well, I'll check and see if anybody's climbed and get back to you. He hasn't come back to me on that yet. A couple other areas. This is the one in the Shackleton Range. They're very close to the water. I took this picture in one of the research stations. I could not find it, but it's supposed to be around here. And then there's other ones that are more down towards the New Zealand side. So, potential for an alien base? Yes, there is very compelling Google Earth pictures of what looks like this metallic top opening. This is actually really large. You could fly a craft or a plane into it. And there are 2 of them right next to each other, about 5 miles apart. So the question is, are they ours or are they theirs? Well, these are some other interesting ones. Are these artifacts or these could be real? Look, nature does not create perfect right angles. These look very much like the step pyramids of Saqqara. And nature doesn't really do anything in these kind of perfect right angles. In 2012, a satellite image took the picture of this mysterious oval shape on the left in one of the most remote regions of Antarctica. It is over 400 feet across, appears with too many perfect geometric shapes to be random natural formations, but appears to have been crafted by an intelligent people. And Corey Goode has spoken much about what might also be under the ice. An antediluvian civilization. I could not find anyone who knew about this or any of the digs. But this big discovery that he says they've been going down there every season and pulling out these woolly mammoths. Here you can see some megalithic architecture. Technology have allowed ice-penetrating radar to discover those subglacial lakes that I showed you, and also the possibility of finding other things down there. Corey Goode calls these pre-Adamite giants. This is some other information that Corey Goode's come out with. At least 5 under-the-ice facilities run by an interplanetary corporate conglomeration. And this is where he puts them. One of them on the Palmer Peninsula. Another, this is close to the Union Glacier and Vincent Massif. That's close to New Schwabenland, actually very close to the Belgrano 2 base. This one out on the Ross Ice Shelf, and another one close to McMurdo. And he says this is what they look like under the ice, geothermal formations, factories, and things they're working on. And he thinks it's a corporate-run secret space program based out of Antarctica. And here's southern Thule. This is one of the most remote islands in the world. Like Antarctica, it's frozen most of the year, and this is completely uninhabited. These peri-Antarctic volcanic islands are very difficult to make a landing except by helicopter. Sea landings on these 11 seldomly visited islands are very rare, although it can be done. This is what South Thule Island looks like. Pulled that off of Google Earth. The area in question that we're going to talk about is right down here. This is a map from Wikipedia showing the Falkland Wars was actually a two-part war. We almost always hear about what happened on the Falklands, but another contingent was coming down here to the South Shetlands and the South Sandwich Islands. So this was in 1982, I remember as a kid. And they had another goal in mind, and that was this South Thule Island. This is a picture from British military showing this ship where the actual surrender treaty took place right off of South Thule Island. This tiny little research station. Well, what could have been going on there? This is another picture of that research station, which the British just destroyed, just blew it up, just got rid of it. There's nothing there now. It was called the Corbetta Uruguay Station on southern Thule, and they were said to be studying something in a cave. And although Britain claimed sovereignty, the Argentinians had set up a base here and were working out of here, really bothering no one until the Falkland Wars. There's another view of it. The cave would be in the mountains here. And this is where supposedly the Black Goo comes from. And this may be the real reason why the Falkland Wars was fought. What is the Black Goo? Well, it is this AI substance that can be used to rapidly clone any life form. It was brought to Earth by a benevolent ET group shortly after the Toba eruption 74,000 years ago. At that time, it created basically a nuclear winter over the planet. There were so few humans, you could fill them, all the humans on the world, in a big stadium like Texas Stadium. That's how few humans there were. So the idea was that we were very susceptible to a takeover. So the Black Goo was brought to Earth and stored in South Thule Island so it could be frozen. I could do a whole presentation on the Black Goo. It's very, very interesting because after the Black Goo was taken back to the UK, it got loose. A bunch of scientists at Marconi Labs died under mysterious circumstances, and it sounds like this thing has gotten loose. It could be behind the Morgellons syndrome. It could be that it's taken on new forms. If it's AI, it has some kind of intelligence of its own.